Hello and welcome. Today I am making an art journal out of a magazine and some scrapbook papers. I watched several videos and I am going to share the link of the video that I watched that most inspired me to create this project. There were several good ones, but this one, I don't know, just I connected with it and decided to give it a try. So I have a magazine there, and I'm showing you how I folded the top cover. I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure those folds are nice and crisp. And then I'm folding a page from the magazine in, as you see there, and kind of in the opposite way of the cover. Then I am going to tear out 2 pages, and then I'm going to fold the next page like I did before, and tear 2 pages and continue in that way. This is the basic structure of the person whose video I watched, how she started out putting her journal together. So I really like that idea. Again, I decided to try it. And after I follow this process for the entire magazine, I am also going to glue the pages that I'm folding like that. I'm going to glue them down so that I'm showing you how I'm going to glue them so that the pages will be a little bit sturdier, but still it's a very thin magazine, so that's why I wanted to use my scrapbook paper. Okay, so there I have folded all the pages, and I also glued the pages as I showed before to save a little bit of time. So you can see it's not as thick as the magazine was before, but that's good because I'm going to add the scrapbook paper, and then I'm going to art journal in here, so I will add some bulk to it. So these are some scrapbook papers that I have had for so many years, I can't even tell you, probably close to 20 years. They're fairly thin, they're not the heavy scrapbook paper, and because I don't like to measure, I'm just going to mark the height of the journal, and then I'm going to trim all of my pages that are papers that I'm going to use, or approximate the number of pages that I'm going to use. So there they are, all trimmed up. And now I'm going to start gluing these papers to my journal. And I glued the first 2 scrapbook papers, as you can see, one to the inside cover and one to the first page of my journal. Now, the reason I did that, I thought I was recording, by the way, but I wasn't. So the reason I did that is because I wanted to fold the scrapbook paper over at the edge of each page so that I thought it would make a sturdier book. So I hope that makes sense. You can see there how I'm going to cover the front cover. I will glue that down, and then I'm going to continue with the rest of the pages in the same manner. So there you can see what I mean by I'm folding over the edge of each page. I thought it would make it a stronger, sturdier journal. And I also wanted to cover that middle part of my 2 pages. I thought that would cover up any of the parts where I tore out the pages, and also protect that inside crease also as well. So I'm just going to glue all these papers down to my pages in the same way. I'm just using a lot of glue and trying to put my papers as straight as possible, but I will admit that they aren't all that straight. But I'm going to cover all these papers with paints and things, so you won't even see the patterns on the scrapbook paper, and even if things aren't completely straight, it really is fine in the end. As you will see, it's fine for me anyway. Something else about the pages, if you don't want to use a glue stick, you can use any kind of glue that you want to. You can also use double-sided tape if you think that would be easier for you. Also, if you don't want to make an art journal, you'd rather make maybe a junk journal, use some background papers that, go together better and look nicer than what I'm doing. So I'm just showing you how I'm going to continue gluing down those papers. And I'm going to do the whole thing just like that, the whole rest of the book. I'll jump ahead so that I won't bore you with too much gluing and folding. Okay, so I have attached the scrapbook paper to all of the pages except that very last part, as you can see there. So that's what it looks like so far. The top is a little bit not so neat. And not that it has to be that neat anyway, because some of the pages stick out farther than other pages, as you can see there. I think I end up trimming that one that really sticks out, because most of the time everything doesn't have to be perfect for me, but that one really looked bad. So anyway, I'll show you how I trim up the top part of the book. That part is pretty easy. I didn't want to trim the sides too much because that would ruin my idea of having the fold on the edge of each page. So I think that, as I mentioned before about the sturdiness, I think it also just looks a little bit nicer. I'm not sure if that's really true or not, because all my pages are different width seemingly. But anyway, I have one last paper to glue down, and that will finish off my book. And you can see there that I'm going to attach my last piece of scrapbook paper to meet up with that other piece. I have to make sure everything's glued down properly. If you're doing this project as you go along, if you see anything that's not glued properly, you can adjust at that time, fix it. So there you can see how I'm just attaching that last page. Again, the same way I did the pages previously. I use my bold and folder in that crease every time. I fold it down like that, flatten it. I thought I was doing a pretty good job, but like I said, some of the pages aren't all that straight. So the way I'm going to finish this off, my way of not liking to measure, is I'm going to fold that page over like that, and then I'm going to find the place where the two pages are going to meet, and I'm going to fold it just at the very top slightly. I'm going to take it to my cutting board and make a straight cut there, and that's what I did. So that worked out fairly well. It could have overlapped a little too, which is fine. If it overlaps a tiny little bit, it's just the back cover. So I have a lot of glue there. I want to make sure everything sticks down really well. So there's my book so far, and like I said, it's a little bit wonky. That's okay. I do want to trim up that top part. I trimmed the bottom already, and in the same way I'm going to show you now how I trim the top part, because you can see that there's some stuff sticking out up there. So I have my metal ruler and a very sharp box cutter type tool, and I'm going to just run my cutter down by the metal ruler there for a fairly straight edge. And that's how I straighten that out. So the next step in my process of making this into an art journal is to cover up the scrapbook paper. So I'm going to cover it with gesso. I buy a big container of gesso, and then I put it in those little plastic containers to make it easier to use. Now, I had planned to cover the whole thing with gesso, but I've realized that's going to take a long time to dry each page individually, so I'll just put the gesso on as I go along and work in my book. But I did want to show you how I'm going to paint and decorate the cover. So this is actually a fail, what I'm showing you there. I did all this and then I just really didn't like it. So I left this in because I wanted to show you how if you don't like something that you do, you can always cover it up and it's not a big deal. This paper that I just showed you, I used as a practice for a new cover color scheme, as it were. And so that's what I'm doing now. I like the way those colors work better. And I'm just going to spread some paint with my fingers. In the previous cover, what I didn't like is I had used some black paint and did some stenciling with black paint, and I thought it was too stark. And all in all, I thought the black was too stark. And all in all, I thought it was kind of a bit of a jumble. Again, I probably could have fixed it in some way by maybe stenciling over the top of it with some like a lighter color maybe. But anyway, long story short is that I just decided to cover it with gesso and start all over. And I really like the result I got the second time, so I'm glad I did that. It was probably quicker in the end to just do it that way. So that's my cover so far, just a few colors. I'm going to scribble with a charcoal pencil. I like to do a lot of scribbling now in my mixed media with pencils. I use different ones depending on my mood, but I use a charcoal pencil a lot. And then after that, I'm going to do some stamping, and I'm just using the same stamp and randomly stamping a little bit here and there. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I'm just trying not to think about it too much and just going by instinct, I guess, and just turning my stamp this way and that. I don't want it to be too jumbled up like last time, so I'm not doing too much of that. Now, I did want to use that stencil because I do like that stencil a lot, and I wanted to use the white to tone down the background a little bit. So I'm going to stencil a few things here and there with the white. I do blot a bit with my paper towel. When I stencil, sometimes if I think the paint is too heavy and I want it to lighten up a little bit, I'll blot it with a paper towel or sometimes another piece of paper like a book page, something like that. I did speed this up because I didn't want to make this video too long, and some of the things here are repetitive. So once I stencil with the white, I wanted to add the gold. I thought the gold was a nice touch. I do like to use a bit of gold a lot when I'm stenciling in my mixed media, and I like the circles, so I wanted to use that. I used that same stencil before in the first cover that I didn't like, so I'm using that one, but I'm not going to use the black this time. You'll see in a minute, I'll spoil it. I'm going to go back to my trusty teal. You can see that on the paper in the background there that I'm working on. I wanted to try not to use teal this time because I use it so much, but you know what? It works and I really like it, so I think it works with those colors really well. So what I decided to do is to use my teal paint and spread a lot of it on, and then roll it on this is a piece of deli paper, roll it on the paper, and then take a different stencil that I had not used before and get a lot of paint on that stencil, and then it's actually a mask what I'm using, not a stencil, but press that down onto my background, as you can see there. And I'm using a paper towel to hopefully not make a huge mess with the paint. I should have used just another piece of paper on top, but of course I'm not thinking clearly, so that's how I did it. So what I did is that one didn't come out so as dark as I wanted, so I tried to do that again. And then I also just did that a couple more times, or I think one other time near the bottom there to finish. I tried to position that back in the same place. So I'm doing, okay, now I've figured out that I should be using another piece of paper to press that down. Sometimes, I'm a little slow like that. So again, not as dark as I wanted it, but I'm okay with that because I'm actually going to add some other pieces to the cover. And I know that I'm going to add some kind of like focal image to the cover, so I'm okay with that. So I do the same thing at the bottom there. And I am very close to making a big mess there, but I manage, I think, to finish that up without causing too many problems. So even though it's a little bit messy, I like it, and I did the same thing on the back there as well. So now I'm going to decorate my front cover, and after much thought I decided to use this cheesecloth that I had dyed quite a while ago. It's the same teal color as the teal I used on the cover, so I like that, and I had this tag and decided to use it. I glued everything down at this point. I have jumped ahead there, didn't show my gluing, and then I decided to add a little bit of modeling paste to the top right and the bottom there, as you can see. And that is pretty much my project. I'm really happy with the way it turned out in the end. This was actually a pretty fun project to work on as well. So I hope you like this project. I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.